Well, hello everybody. How's it going? Thanks for joining me. I'm going to start with part two of the stream we started yesterday. We'll actually rig the character's head that we created. So feel free to jump in and ask questions if you got questions along the way, or just comment if you want to. We'll get started. I'll try to knock this out in about an hour. So we'll see if we can rig him up, get his head going, and do a little animation within an hour. So we'll try, just depending on how many questions we get. All right, so buckle up. Let's go. Let's get started. All right. Hey man, how's it going? I won't actually be there this week. I'll be out of town, so but you still come and hang out with us, all right? So here we go. We're going to start with a bone layer, all right? And we'll add that to our head. Now what we got to do is we got to pull the layers that we already have. Well, this layer is nothing. We'll pull the head, the whole group, into the bone layer. All right. So this is how we start a rigging of anything. It has to be inside of a bone layer. So if this was a whole body, hand layers, arms, legs, it all has to be inside of the bone layer. So we'll just rename that controls. So we know. So what we could start doing now, if we're going to rig a head turn, I think the only thing that we would have to change on this to get it where we want it is we'd have to put the ears on separate layers. So we'll go down to the ear layer and we'll copy one, and then we'll add it to a different layer. Just cut it. So this layer right here will make it the other ear, and I'll call it the left ear. Alright, and then we'll paste it in there. Then we'll put it inside of the bone layer, and there we go. It goes where we need it to be. So we'll take it there, and then we can move the head from side to side, but we need bones to be able to do that, and then we'll rig all this to our bones. So we go back to the bone layer, and what we're going to do is we will add bones. So you go up here to the add bone tool, and that's how we get started. So in the add bone tool, it's as easy as dragging a bone out. Now the neck would connect to the head somewhere in that area, so we'll do that, and as long as that bone's still red, the next bone that I could draw out is going to be actually connected to that bone, and so it'll be a child of the bone that I drew. So anytime that you want to add a bone that's not in a bone chain, what you want to do is you want to click Alt, hold down Alt on the PC, and then click, and then it clears the bone chain, and then when you go again you can add another bone. Alright, so all these bones right now have weights. Hey, how's it going? Educational Cartoons, how's it going? Thank you, I appreciate you loving the character. Welcome to the stream. We're just going to rig this one up and get it ready for animation. So we'll select all these bones, and if you look here, you notice they all have envelopes on them. So I like to just take those off because I like to bind my bones to points or layers. That's the way I do it. There's plenty of ways to do it. That's just how I like to do it. It works out well for me. So what we'll do is we will actually take this top bone here, all right, and that's going to be the main thing. So coming from the ears, all right, so we can actually just right here, if you did, this is to bind a layer to a bone. If you click on that right there, right, and then you click on that bone, we're going to bind that we're going to bind this layer right here to that bone. Or you can bind points. This is binding points, this is binding a layer. So we click on the layer, you can bind the points like that. Alright, so now you should, If we go back up to our control layer, grab this, it didn't bind. So let's do it again. Select the bone, select the ear, select all the points. Let's bind points. Bind the points. Come up to the top, hit bind points, and we should be good to go. Alright, so we'll go to the left ear. Once again, we'll bind points. Bind points. Let's see what happened there. Hello, how's it going? Welcome. And see, now the ears are now bound to that bone. So wherever that bone moves, those ears are going to move. Alright, so now got the left ear, got the right ear. Let's go with the head shape here. So we'll select that layer. Alright, and then we'll go to the bind layer tool. So everything in that layer, we'll click on the bone, and it's now bound to that layer right there. Alright, so now if we come up to the control and click on the manipulate bone tool, now we got him moving. Alright, so now we got the ears and the head shape connected. Everybody with me so far? Pretty easy, right? So Braxton's upstairs sleeping. That's my son. Somebody asked, where's Braxton? We got the ears, and let's get the glasses. So let's select the glasses layer, all the points, right? And then we'll click on the bind points. Bind points. It's bound. All right. We got the hair. Same thing. Just highlight, select all. All right, and then we will bind those points. Same thing. Eyebrows. Let's select all those points for both sets of eyebrows. Click on the bind point tool. We'll bind those. All right, everybody with me so far? This is the mouth layer, to mouth. So we'll do the bind layer. Since it's a bunch of layers in a group right here, it's easier sometimes if you just bind the main layer, the main folder of the group, and then you can bind it right to the character. So we'll do that. We'll click on the bone and it's bound. All right, got the nose. So we'll select the nose, all the points there, bind the points, bind it, and it's bound. All right, so if I come up here and I grab the manipulate bone, everything in that head should move when I move this bone. The nose didn't bind. So let's go back. Click on that, bind it. Now we should be good to go. I don't know if you notice, but when it's excuse me, when we bind it, the squares actually get better, bigger and brighter. So let's go back to the head and the control here, and let's manipulate the bone, and let's see what happens. There we go. Got him all bound, right? Very good. So now all we got to do is bind the neck to this bone. Is everything sounding okay? If somebody could chime in as far as music, microphone. Can you hear everything sounding all right? I'd appreciate any comments. Let me know that. So keep going. So let's bind it. Hey, Jamie, how's it going? Welcome. All right, so we're going to bind the neck to that bone right there. So, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Let's grab the neck layer down here. That's why we labeled all of our layers before. You hear voice, no music. All right, is the music low? Is it loud? I got a little music going. I just didn't want it to be dead air. So if you're not hearing music, I can turn it up just a little bit. Anybody hear it now? All right, layer, bind points. So now that should be, I hear the music, it's low. Alright, low, got it. I'll bring it up just a hair. Alright, so now we should have, if we go back to our manipulate bone tool, we should have the head there, and if we move the neck, we can move the whole head there. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this bone the parent. So when we move this bone, it moves the whole head. So all we got to do is click on the neck bone, alright? And let's name this bone. Let's name it the root bone. Cool. Alright, and all you got to do is click on a bone. You come up to the top up here and you can name it anything you want. So let's name them all. Let's name this one the neck bone. Alright, and let's name this one the head bone. So there we go. The head, the neck, and the root. Alright, usually you'd put a root bone when you're creating a whole character. It would be around the hips, abdomen area. That way when you move that, you move the whole character around on your screen so you can position it around. Neck bone, yeah, head bone's connected to the neck bone. That's right. So you can move it around. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this bone a child of the root. So we're going to go up here, and if you look at this, this is a reparent bone tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on that, and it's going to show us that the head bone is actually connected connected to the neck bone. But we want the neck bone, it's highlighted, to be connected to the root. So all we got to do is click on the root. Right now it has no arrow telling us where it's connected to. So we click on the root bone, and as you can see, it added an arrow. So now the neck bone's a child of the root bone, right? And the head bone's a child of the neck bone. So if we come back up to our manipulate bone tool, if we grab the root, now we can move him around and do whatever we want with him. Neck bone, he's going to pivot right there at the bottom where the two bones meet. That's going to be his pivot point. And then the head bone's going to move right there. Everybody with me so far? Cool. We'll keep going. So what we want to do is we want to add some restraints to these, because obviously, you know, if your neck moves like that, you in the hospital somewhere. You messed up, right? So we want to make sure his neck actually moves in a way that we can do. See you, man. Have a good one. Hope you enjoy Sunday. Move it in a way that we can is, you know, proper. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the actual bone right there, head bone. We're going to go to bone constraints right here at the top. We're going to add angle constraints. As you can see, it added these two lines right here. Now what that's saying is that's as far as that bone will go from side to side. Alright, so that's a little far for me. So let's come back and let's start out with 30. Alright, and so now if we manipulate that bone, it can only go that far and that far from each side. Just like that. Alright, we can do the same thing with the neck bone. So let's click on that. You got to click on the select bone tool right here at the top, and then you'll get the bone constraints. Hit the angle constraint, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just go 30 just for staying in the same vein here. So now when we hit the manipulate bone tool and we come over, he can move around with his head, but that's as far as it go. His bones are restricted, right? So when we move this, we move this. Now usually a head and a neck is connected to a body, so it'll have a little more constraints on it, but we're just working on the head here, rigging it up so I can show y'all how that works. Alright, so basically that head is rigged. So if you didn't want to do anything else, you could actually get some animation going if you had a character head rigged side to side. If he had no audio, if you didn't plan on doing any audio in your animation, you could get away with like just a character moving, gesturing, and things like that. So that could actually work. Actually, you could still do audio. I mean, because when you're ready to do audio, we're going to right click on the mouth. We're going to select a different mouth, and it's going to give us our different mouths. And as we go along, we add keyframes, and that'll cause him to talk. Everybody with me? Cool. All right, so let's rig up his eyes to move side to side. So we go back up to our controls, right? That's because that's where we got to add bones, right up at the top of the controls. And then we come over here, and we're going to create a new bone with this plus right here. It's an add bone tool. Now, the red one's selected, so if we create a bone right now, it's going to become a child of that bone. And I really don't want that, so I'm just going to hold Alt and just click on my screen. It'll deselect it, and then I'm just going to draw a bone right here. Now I'm going to name that bone Eyes SS, because I'm lazy. I don't want to type side to side. And then I'm going to come up to bone, and I'm going to make a smart bone dial. Alright, and it gives me from 90 degrees, minus 90 to plus 90, so it's a total 180 degrees that bone will move. So what that'll enable us to do is allow us to make two different gestures, one to one side, one to the other. So I'm going to do when I push the bone to the left side, his eyes will go left. When I push him to the right, his eyes will go right. Alright, everybody with me on that? So right here, it starts at 0 and it comes to like 100 over here, frame 100. So we'll slide this all the way over, and that's where it'll stop. Then we'll come down to our eye layer. That's the eyebrows. That's the ear. Where are my eyes? Oh, it's under the glasses, that's why. Alright. Usually I would put that on a different layer. So let's select that eye. Alright, and while we're at that last frame, we're going to move that eye over here. Let's not go too far, make him creepy. Alright, and we'll select that eye, move tool, and move it over. Oh, I missed the point. Control Z. You know what? I need to zoom in. There we go. Don't have my glasses on tonight. So we'll move it over. Even if it goes under a little bit, works like that. So now let's zoom out. See what we got. So now, if we come back here and we move our cursor here, right? His eyes move. So now his eyes are moving to one side. When we move that bone, his eyes will move to the side. So let's open up our actions layer. It's over here. It's already open over here. Let me pull it on screen so you guys can see it. Alright. So it made the first one right here, the first action, alright, and then it made action 2. So when we name it, it already makes actions 1 and actions 2. That gives us an action for one way and an action for the other. So we just double click on actions 2. When the little red arrow goes to that, you know that one's live. So we'll do the same thing. We'll slide it to its all the way to its full extent. Alright, and so now we're just going to do the opposite. We're going to grab that eye, and we'll slide it over here. Zoom in so we can see it again. And we'll take this eye here, and we will move it. Alright, everybody with me so far? Anybody got any questions? Chime in and ask away. So now bring it back here. So if we double click on the word mainline, that brings us out to our timeline. If we go up to the controls and we hit the manipulate bone tool, if we go side to side, so does his eyes. Isn't that cool? Now we're animating. So now we just like, what? There you go. We're animating. Woo! Woohoo! All right. So now we got his eyes going side to side. Let's get his brows working. Hey Pierre, how's it going, man? Um, yeah, you can nudge him using the arrow keys. Sometimes if you just, it's easier if you just get in, because sometimes it'll nudge the cursor down here at the bottom, and then it'll start messing with all kinds of stuff like that. So you just got to make sure you have it, you're on the right thing. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So let's add another bone. We're in the controls, and once again we're going to alt click off on the side so that we're not attached to that. Alright, and then we'll make another bone here. Oh, I don't want to do that. I'll control Z that. Create a bone. Come on. Alright, I'm going to call this one brows. Now you can make a bone for each brow. You can make it as crazy as you want, you know, as much detail and animation you want to do. If you want to do one brow up, one brow down, that, that makes for some cool expression. So yeah, let's just do that. Why not? You want to do that? All right, cool. Let's call this one left brow. All right, and we'll just make it up and down, same thing. So we'll go left brow, we will make it a smart bone now. All right, 90 to 90, there we go, same thing. And we'll make sure number one's clicked. We'll go this way, right, and then we'll click on the eyebrow layer. Now both of them are selected, so we want to make sure we just got the one selected, and we'll move it down, right, and then I will rotate it a little bit. It will capture any movement I make to the brow. So anything I do to this brow, when I move that bone, that's what it's going to do. So see, it brings it down and it rotates it. So now that action is recorded to that bone movement. So now left brow, we're going to make him go up when I go this way. So I'm just going to pull him up, and I'll rotate him a little bit. So now I'll click on the main line, and if I come back to the controls and grab it, that's a little clumsy, but we can fix that later. You get the idea, I hope, though. We'll make it a little smoother. See, it goes in and then it comes back down, and I don't like that. So let's go back to eyebrows too. Alright, and we'll just grab that. That's not the eyebrow, that's the ear. And we'll move it off to the side up here. See, you gotta watch those points. You can just drag them on top. There we go, that's a little better. Alright, and we'll go down. And I'll slide it over just a little bit so it feels a little more. Double click on the main line and come out to control, and now we can so there we go. It's like that. So we're gonna do the same thing with the other side. So really, this is rigging in a nutshell. You just grabbing bones, adding actions to your bones, and now when you go to animate, you have all your controls set up. So you're making expressions by just moving bones, lifting eyebrows, blinking eyes side to side, and put a string of those together and you get animation. It's a lot harder than what I'm making it sound, I promise you. I'm still learning as I go. But so we'll go to there, we'll create a new bone. Remember, we're alt clicking on the screen, all right, and then we'll call this one the right brow. All right, and then we'll go to bone. Hey, you're welcome, unknown. No problem. And we're going to do the same thing. It's 90 to 90. We're going to go down with it. So we'll move this across, right? And then we'll go back to the eyebrows and we'll select the other one. Grab the selection tool, select around that, move it down, rotate it, all right? So now when we move it, it moves up and down. Now I kind of already had that one up to begin with, so I'm going to move it down, and that's going to be its starting position right there. So now when I move it down, move it over as well. All right, everybody cool with that? And so we will double click on brow 2. Remember, we want to make sure the arrow is over. We move it over so it's over here, and once it's in that position, now we can move it up and we can slightly turn it and in. See how that looks? That works for me. Go to main line. There we go. Now if we go to controls and we click on the manipulate bone tool, got to make sure you're there. All right, and you go up and down with his brow, up and down with this brow. So now we can start making some expressions. Right? Now you're surprised. Everybody cool with that? Good. So come on the side. There you go. So let's make his eyes blink. That's always a good one. So we'll do the same thing. Come back to our control layer. We'll grab the add bone tool. Right, we'll click, make sure nothing's selected. We'll add it, and then we'll call it eyes blink. And you could do the same thing with this. You could do right eye, left eye. I'm gonna just do both at the same time. And you can, like I said, you can make it as detailed as you want. All right. So we're gonna make a smart bone dial, eyes blink, and same thing. So we're gonna close it when we do that. So I'm gonna zoom in here so we can see our eye layer. Right. And I'm gonna select that one. I'm gonna hold down Control and Shift, and then I can select this side and I can select this side. Everybody got that? Control and Shift, and it gives you the option to use it like a pencil tool, and you can just draw around and select all you want. Then I come up to the transform points, right? And if you hold the Alt key down, it keeps it in perspective as you're manipulating them. So we hold on the Alt key down, keeping it in perspective, just like that. And then I'm gonna come up to the curvature tool. Now while they're all selected, I'm just gonna slide it to my left, and what that's gonna do is that's gonna sharpen all those points. So that's gonna make his eyes blink. So now if we move it, we can see what happens. His eyes are blinking. Now this is a simple blink. You can make it a lot more complicated, whereas if we come like this here, like I said, it records any movement I make to the points. So if I come up here and I just want to select the middle, I can actually make them droop and make a curvature to his eyes when he blinks. So let's zoom in a little bit. It'll take a little more work to do something like that. You grab those right there, grab the move tool, and you just kind of move it down, right? And then we'd have to get our curvature tool back in the middle here, And the cool thing about Moho is we now have Bezier handles, so that's nice. Now you could actually animate this highlight disappearing if you wanted to. Totally up to you, however you want to do it. But then we can get that look as well, so it looks like his eye is closing. Right? Now, let's say right here, it's kind of giving us an odd shape. So let's say I got it on 42. I can actually come in and I can actually add some animation midway. So I could start pinching that in a little bit if I wanted to. Sizing it up, adjusting the eye how I want it to look in the middle. So now it's going to record that action as well. Everybody got that? Cool. So you can add adjustments all along the way if you want. If you like it to look different here, you can do that. So wherever you add points, it'll do it. So let's go make the other side curve. I kind of like the curve on that. It's a little work, but hey, what's life without a little work? So I hope everybody had a great day today. Question you guys can maybe chime in on is anybody have a favorite animated film? Got a favorite film? Animated, could be anything. Just curious. Cartoon. Favorite cartoon. Toy Story. All day. Yeah. Every one of them. Yep. Love those. So there we go. We got his eyes blinking right there. Now let's, right around that same range, let's try to manipulate it to look like the other one a little bit. I been watching some Netflix here lately, and have been watching the Turbo 2D cartoon that they came out with, and that's pretty good. They did a pretty good job on that. Some of the first ones were real good. I enjoy them. Yes, and that's what we'll do when we go the other way. We'll make them bigger, so his eyes will, you know, he can have more expression going the other way. So there we go. On that, we'll call that close for now. All right, we'll move out. We'll double click on blink 2, make sure the arrow's there, because that's when we know that it is there. And then let's select both eyes. Remember, if we hold down Control and Shift, we can just draw around those. I'm using a pad here, a pen pad. Got the pen, and I think it's the Intuos 5 or something like that. I usually work on a Cintiq. It's upstairs, so I can spend time with the family. I call it the art cart, where my laptop and everything sits upstairs in the living room, so we can just kind of hang out, and I can work as we watch TV. So we can make them big, and of course I don't like that, so I'm gonna select this one. Let me Control Z. Right, and then I'm gonna hold it down. Come on. It's rough sometimes, man. You can even do that if you wanted to. Crazy eyes, two different size eyes. I've done that on some characters. That adds a lot of expression. Favorite animated film? Tough question. I grew up with Popeye, Warner Brothers cartoons. Yep. Favorite features? Probably yeah. Pixar films are wonderful too. Yep. Love the Pixar films. Those are great stuff. I watched Brother Bear the other day. Man, that was a good show. Some really good animation. Good job. That was on Netflix. I was watching. That was pretty cool. I've seen it several times, but I hadn't seen it in a long time. So there he is, wide-eyed. Now I don't use that a lot, but you know, you could always. What? So there we go. Click on the main line here and go back to our controls. And so now we can make his eyes blink, make them wider, right? Browse down, and he blinks, comes up, browse up, side, and look, he can still blink when he goes to the side. He can still get bigger when he goes to the side. So all these bones work together, making him do stuff. Browse up. There we go. So another thing I like to do, I actually have a head turn or body turn tutorial on my channel. So I don't know if I'm actually going to make his head turn tonight. If you want to go check that out, you can ask questions in there, and if for some reason you can't figure it out, I didn't do the talking part and explaining, but I think if you know the technique I'm teaching you tonight, where you just make the bones and you just actually move parts around, I think you can figure it out by just watching what I'm doing there. But if it's too fast and you can't get to it, just comment, send me a message or whatever, and we'll make sure we make this one work. With the ninja guy, yeah, the little it's a Brussels sprout. I'm working on a cartoon called Broccoli and the Brussels Bros, and he and his brother, the Brussels Bros, and I show you how to make a full turn with him. So check it out. If that doesn't work for you, let me know. We'll come back and add a head turn on the next one to this guy. So what else can we do here? Let's add a little squash and stretch to his head. That's one thing that always seems to add a lot of character to a cartoon, is a lot of squash and stretch. So we'll alt click, right? Make sure we're not selecting anything. All right, and so SQ ST bone, make smart bone. All right, so if we go to the SQ side, he's going to squash. So here's what we're going to do. This is a little bit different technique. We're going to select the head bone, all right, and then we're going to come up here to this bone right here, and it's called the transform bone tool. All right, so we're going to select the transform bone tool, and it's going to give us these red dots. So we're going to grab this one. You'll see the arrows come up when you move on the side. You also see the rotation sign come up on those, but we want to make sure we got the arrows. We can grab this top arrow and we can pull it down. All right, and that's going to make his head squash. So usually in squash and stretch, you want to keep the volume of the character. So when you squash down, it's not just going to stay like that. It's actually going to spread out a little bit. So we want to add a little bit of spread to his head, spread head, right? When he comes down. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the head layer, right? And I don't like to animate the full layer, because we could grab the layer tool here, transform layer, and we can stretch the whole thing out. But when you get into animating a character and you have layer manipulation like that going on, a lot of times it'll start to wig out along the way and it'll give you problems down the road. So it's best to do the work at the front end and get that going right. Everybody cool with that? Say yeah. I heard you. Good job. All right, so we're going to do that. We're going to grab the head, and then we're going to grab the individual layers. So we're going to grab that. I'm going to hold down the Alt, and then I'm just going to bump it out just a little. We're not going to add a whole lot. And then I'll bump out the ear just a little. Right there. And then we'll grab the left ear, and we'll move it there. So now, see, we got his head stretching out. Got a little movement going. Go up to his glasses, that whole layer. We can select that whole layer right there by grabbing that tool, clicking there, and holding Alt and grabbing the side. It'll keep it, boom, just like that. All right, so that adds a little bounce and squash. Hope everybody's got that. Everybody with me on that? Cool. So we'll go back up to here, double click, make sure our number 2 is selected, come this way, all right, and then we'll same thing, come here, but this time we're going to stretch it. So we're going to go up, all right, and we'll do the same thing. We'll go to the head layer, and I'll select it, and I'll squeeze it this time and go the other way. Squeeze just a little bit. Move his ears in just a little bit. Right. Just like that. Grab his glasses. We'll alter those just a little bit in. Make it feel like it's squeezing in on him. And that just adds a lot of character. So now that we have that, go back up to the main line, and let's see what we got. We'll go to our control layer, and now once we have all our bones selected, we can actually collapse our control layer right there, and we can start. Got to go to the manipulate bone tool, and we can start making an animation. So we'll come out to frame 1. Right here, all right, and I'll go up to bone freeze pose. So that's going to hold him in his main pose right there. I'm going to move out to 6. Let's go to 12, all right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that pose at 12, and I'm going to have him look to the opposite side over here, all right. What are the projects in which I participated? The things that you could see that I've done is probably going to be on YouTube, some of the characters that I've done. A lot of stuff I do for the, I'm a children's pastor, and I do it for our Sunday morning services for the kids, and I've done some private stuff, but, and so a lot of stuff that I do, it's just seen on Sunday mornings with the kids. It's not really posted anywhere or anything like that. So, but if you want to see the characters that I've done, you can go check out my YouTube channel, and you can see some of those characters that I made. I think I may have a music video on there that I've created a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago. So you can go check that out. But thanks for asking. All right, so we'll go here and we'll make that move right there. So now that's kind of so to give it some life, we'll go around 6, and what we'll do is we'll squash it. So now yes, I do have some tutorials. A lot of them have no audio. Only the 2 live streams actually have me talking you through the process. So if you go to the one that I created yesterday, we actually created this head here, and tonight I'm actually showing you how to rig it with bones. So you can go check that out. If you don't mind watching, slowing it down frame by frame, going back and watching, I have a ton of tutorials on my YouTube channel that you can go and check out. All right, but thanks for joining us. So we'll add we'll add a squash in between. So now when we get to here, we want to stretch it back out. So it's going to give us some life when he moves. Like, what? All right. So right about here, I would probably blink his eyes because he blinks when he turns. All right. So in animation, there's a principle of animation called arcs. If you're not familiar with that, look up the 12 principles of animation. I'm still learning them myself. But arcs, when you move head-wise, arms, anything like that, nothing really moves in a linear fashion where it's just straight ahead unless it's a robotic. So you want to try to add arcing motions to a head when you turn from side to side. When your arms move, you want to add arcing motions in between. It makes it more realistic, and I like a lot of snappy poppy cartoons, so they have a lot of arc and squash and stretch, and that gives a lot of animation to your character. So we do like that. So right about here, I would add a blink. All right, so he's up, he blinks, and then when he comes over here, he opens up like that. All right, so let's add his brows down in the middle. Those brows are up, comes across, and let's add his brows. Really surprised, right? And let's make his eyes bigger when he gets to this side. He just saw something to that side that really got him excited. So, what? So with his mouth, I didn't rig up a bone for his mouth, but you could actually rig up a bone for his mouth. So anytime you move the bone, it goes through the mouth shapes. We can come back and do that because we're approaching our hour mark here. Let's see his mouth shape here. So if you click on the mouth shape, all right. No, it's not my norm. I'm just setting it up now. What we'll do is we'll actually play it back, and let's see. Let's set it up at 12 frames, or let's set it up at 24 frames. So click 24 in the last frame button, and then just click on this line down here, and your highlighted region is going to be your loop region, and it'll just keep playing that area right there. So if we click play, see, that's a little slow. I would think of a motion like that, and it's really not that dynamic. So let's go back and we'll fix that, and I'll show you how we do that. Right here, I would kind of move maybe his neck down a little more, and then I would move his neck over like that to give it a more dynamic pose, but it's still a little slow. So I'll select all of those, holding the Alt key down, grab the last one and slide them in, and it kind of keeps them in the same approximate distance from one another to kind of keep it going. So now when we play it, let's adjust it, bring it in, adjust it, bring it in. I think it's a real snappy motion we're looking for here. So you're like, what? Maybe we'll bring that out. Thank you. Yeah, that really saves me, because I've known the trick forever as far as filming yourself, and getting timing. But I've never really done it. So a couple months ago, I started actually filming myself, just using my webcam, setting it up, and then I will actually act out the motions. and then I will bring a low resolution video. You can bring it right into Moho, and I can actually just walk you through that. File, import, movie right here. I usually save it as like an MP4 or something like that. Bring it in, low resolution, but I can actually time the movements of the animation to myself, and my animation is starting to go through the roof as far as quality, movement, timing, believability. So I encourage you, if you have the availability to, for a webcam to do that, even on your phone, you can hold it, time it out. But if you can bring the video right into Moho and match your movements, I promise you, your animation is going to be so much better, and it's not a guessing game as far as timing and things like that. So that's a trick I learned the hard way. I knew about it. I knew it existed. I watched every behind the scenes DVD special there is, and they all say they do it. They show you how to do it. I just thought I didn't need that with my thick head, but until I started doing that, man, my animation really started getting better. So long way to go, but I'm learning. So I'm actually not getting enough pop in this. So on my squash and stretch, all right, let's go back and add a little more squash right there. He goes down right there. I'm actually going to take this neck bone and squash it as well. All right, so now we're going to get some real movement when we do that. So all we had to do is go adjust it, and now it's good to go. So now when I go back to the main line, when I come here, now you see how he really comes down and he pops back up. That's what I was looking for. Lots of expression. Do I draw out my characters on paper, then use reference, or do you design your characters in Moho? This one, I just started live streaming. Yesterday was the first one I've ever done. I usually just record it. A lot of times I draw all the time. I have sketchbook upon sketchbook. I'll actually do some live streams where I'm actually showing some of my sketchbooks, and I'll do some live drawing demos if anybody's interested. Yeah, I draw them out, but a lot of times I draw so much that I just have some thoughts in my head. If I'm doing something specific, I will definitely draw it out, kind of get some positions and character traits and things like that, and kind of design, because to do it in the computer takes a lot longer than me sitting there with a pencil. So I can draw up 20 heads by the time I created this one. So I usually draw them out, but yesterday I just started because I wanted to make something and try to do a live stream. So that's what I usually do. But anyway, so now we got a lot of pop in his head, and that's what I was looking for, just that real expression. So let's go back to the mouth. I wanted to change the mouth shape. And as I was saying, if we click on the mouth, on the mouse, if you right click or left click, I'm not sure how I got my pencil set up right now, and you click on the shape, it actually changes the shape. Alright, so you can go through your mouth shapes that you have. Now, as I can see right here, this mouth is a little high for some of these shapes. So we can easily fix that by going to frame 0. Alright, we got to delete any shapes we have on it right now as far as any animation. If we go to frame 0 and actually grab that layer, I can pull it down just a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. It should stay there because we changed it on frame 0. So now at frame 1, when I'm starting to animate it, and we go back up to the bone layer, let's start him with a closed mouth, right? And then, or let's start him with an open mouth, and we'll close it at 6. Give him the smile, and then at 6, when he comes across right here, we'll close it right there. Maybe a little sooner. And then when he hits that, we'll do a big cheesy grin with a tongue hanging out. And okay, so that's a little off timing. I want that to hit a little sooner, so I'll just grab that layer right there and I'll just pull. Did y'all see that? Because you can slide that as long as you want. So I'll just pull it to where I want it. So now it's a little soon still. I want it quicker. So now when we play it, alright, I think that's a little fast actually now. So do our same trick that we did. We'll select all of it, holding down the Alt key, slide it out. Alright, try it again. And there you go. We are animating. I think at the top I'm going to actually stretch him out a little more, give me a little more dynamic. And I think I'm going to hold that squash a little longer and give it more pop at the end. Grab those keyframes. I'm just going to adjust them a little more. And then you can bring it back down. So let's play. Hey man, how's it going? Good morning to you. I was trying to start a little later. I just didn't know where you were coming from, so you could catch the stream. But I'll post it so you can catch what we did. So we just rigged the head we did earlier. I don't like that it's staying that long, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit. Animation's not quick, y'all. If you want to animate, and some of you I know already do it, it's not a quick process to get it right, especially. So cool. Anybody have any questions, any ideas, anything like that? I think this is all I was going to show you tonight, but like I said, if you want to learn how to do a head rotation, you can just go to that tutorial that I have with the body rotation, and you can see it's the same thing. You just be moving ears around. Great, Jamie. I'm glad. I hope your journey with Moho has been a pleasurable one so far. I know you had, same way when I opened it, it was a little challenging at the beginning, but once you get into it, man, it's a blast because you can bring anything to life, and it's really fun. I love it. Kids love it that I work with. Thank you. Yeah, it has a lot of pop to it, and it just gives it a whole lot of life when you add that stretch right at the end, and then you come back. Do I ever animate text? If I do, I do that in After Effects. I don't do it in Moho. Moho is just, for me, character animation. I know After Effects a lot better, so I do most of it in the in After Effects with text, because I have a lot of stuff that I have pre-built that I can just add and do my own thing. Cool. Very good. Anybody else? Any questions? Any thoughts? Any ideas? Anything you'd like to see in future streams? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Russ. Thank you so much. Yeah, I try to stay hidden as much as I can, like a troll under the bridge. I don't want to come out and make myself known here, but anyway, I want to, I've learned so much along the way. I definitely want to try to give some stuff back to the community. If you're not familiar with Victor Paredes, I think is his name. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm sorry, but he's one of the top Moho animators. Anything from Smith Micro Anime Studio, where they do their live demonstrations, he's the guy that does it, from Chile. He's an incredible animator, so much inspiration. So I encourage you guys to go find those. A lot of good tutorials out there. The Moho community, Anime Studio community, is a great community, so definitely go out there, look. Most people I've run into have been open to share and give information away, and definitely have helped me a lot. Jamie, how to make a ball move like Sonic the Hedgehog? Are you talking about the actual rolling motion? Is that what you're looking to do, Jamie? So he would. Are you looking for in the? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we might could tackle something like that. I think I got a roly-poly character in me somewhere that I can try to make. I would love if you did something on a full body animation with pose to pose and adding pop elements like you did here with the head. That's the plan. Like I said, I'm just learning how to live stream, so I'm kind of taking it slow, little bits at a time, moving along, trying to figure it out as we go. Hopefully everything is working for you guys as far as the quality of the feed and the sound and everything like that. Hands either rigging fingers or creating individual poses that can be swapped out. Yeah, that would be cool. We could definitely do that. One thing you could do, like we just did right here, of course with the squash and stretch it'd be a little different, but we could take that main head shape, right, that we did right there. We can eliminate that. And you could actually add another shape in there, right? Well, I have that. Never mind. No, I can't on this one because I have it rigged up in a mask, so I won't be able to do that. Hey, thanks, Russ. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'll do some full bodies. In fact, we may even take this character all the way to a full body animation, add his body and hands and feet and everything like that. That way everybody has a kind of a complete course on how to create a character. But the head would be rigged, the same way with the body. We'll just add more bones, body parts, things like that. For hands and fingers, I usually use a switch layer, just like the mouth. I'll draw a bunch of hands and then switch them out. A lot of guys are rigging hands now. I've done a little bit of it. It just gets tedious and it gets to be a lot of work. I don't think for me and what I do, it's worth my time to rig each finger and do all that. I've done a few. It was cool, but I can get just as much character and stuff with the switch layers. And here's a tip for you. Google, if you use Google, they have an add-on that actually allows you to play YouTube videos frame by frame. So if you go on, maybe find your favorite cartoon or some shows on YouTube, you can actually watch them frame by frame, and wow, you will get a ton of information about animation watching them frame by frame. A lot of times, what was I watching the other day? I forget the cartoon I was watching, but I was watching one and they use switch layers for the hands, but every time the hand would move, they would put a stretch on the hand or a squash. So as the hand's moving, it would stretch out until it got to its final position, just like I did here, and it would pop into place. So on the move, they would have the hand stretch. So it's maybe one pose is here, it would stretch in this pose, and then it would end up in the third pose here, and the switch would happen in the move. It doesn't happen when the hand's just sitting there moving. It happens in the move. So if you use switch layers, do it while the character's moving, and it hides the actual switch. I hope that makes sense. If you go right to Google and you type in frame by frame, there's an add-on plugin that you can add to your Google Chrome, and it'll work for you. Yeah, I used to do it in QuickTime as well, and I'm like, you know what? With the technology out there today, Russ, it's got to be a way, right? So I went and found Google frame by frame. Now, if you don't use Google, there are some sites that you can actually, and I'll have to find it for you guys, and maybe I can post it in the link. But there are some sites that you can actually copy the link from YouTube. You can place it on their site. You can add it to their bar, and it'll allow you to play frame by frame, so you don't have to download or you don't have to use Chrome. There are some sites. Just type in Google search frame by frame YouTube videos, and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff pop up that you can do. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, I will make it available on the channel unknown so other people can check out what we did. Let's see. Yeah, really watching the cartoons frame by frame, it's great. I need to go through the 12 principles of animation as my animation still. You're doing a good job, man. Don't knock yourself. I think animation's a never-ending journey. I started so many years ago and never really buckled down and learned it. I mean, I got book after book. If anybody's interested, I can do some book reviews as well in the future. I have a massive library that I have assembled here, so I can show you guys some better books than others. I've wasted a few dollars on a couple of books, but so we can do that kind of stuff as well in the future. Great. I'm glad it's helping you. There's also something called, what is that? Moke, M-O-O-C, Moke Note, that allows you to take notes in videos. So when you are watching videos, you can add your own notes. Oh, nice. Very cool. I'll have to check that out. I have taken some animation stuff just online, not really with an instructor or anything like that, as far as face-to-face or live. Aaron Blaze, if he's actually the guy who created, created Brother Bear. He was the director. He has a course out, and it's just animation principles, like you were talking, 12 animation principles. So that would be a good one if you were interested in, if you want to purchase something. He's out there, and it's not that expensive. In fact, I think he went to like a subscription model where you can pay monthly and watch, or a yearly subscription, and you can watch all his videos. Animation Survival Kit, great book, really good book. I have that one. I thought about buying the DVDs of it. There is actually a DVD course, but it's very expensive. It's in the $800 range, and I think I can just work hard and I can learn it my own ways, putting out $800. So, but yeah, but it's a great book. That's a really good one to get a hold of and learn. So, but I think for me, I'm a visual learner, so I think my biggest help has been watching cartoons frame by frame, because man, that just really opened up a whole new world of how, not being in the industry, not really knowing tricks of the trade, not really knowing many people that are in the industry, it opened up my eyes to a whole lot of tricks that these guys do to really get that pop and feel to the animations. So yeah, so Animation Survival Kit, definitely recommend that. One of the better books out there, covers so many details. So one thing you could do to something like this, and I'll just, if you guys want me to, I'll talk a little bit longer. Yes, I actually have it on my iPad, and let's see if I can pull it up. It's pretty good. It's limited. It's not as good as the book, to be honest. I thought it was clumsy as far as the app for myself. I mean, other people might have found it to work well, but I thought for myself it was a little cumbersome and didn't really find it was very intuitive to use. Can y'all see that? No. It's an iPad app. If you go into the kit, I think it's blown out, isn't it? Yeah, sorry guys. I'll have to be able to adjust my camera for you guys to see that. Anyway, that was a spot. it works, but I personally I think the book would be better. So um, I do use a drawing tablet. In fact, that's what I'm using right now. I'm using a Intuos. I think it's the 5. I got it several years ago, but I was able several years back to upgrade to a Cintiq where I can actually draw on the screen, and that really is my preferred method of working now that I've done it. Is it necessary? No, not at all. I've worked with a mouse for years and years and years. I was able to do some extra work and actually buy a Cintiq, and it was really, a great addition to. I love to draw so much, and that opened up the whole world of drawing actually right in my computer digitally and everything else like that. But is it a necessity? Not at all. No, I don't think so. I think you could do it without it for sure. It does make it nice if you can afford a tablet. It's a little awkward. I never got to the point where I could, um, just look at the screen and draw down here and make it look good. I never got that, so I got to draw directly onto the screen. So what we could do is we can actually select these points and we can move the whole group of points, right? Move it over here. Let's say we move it to 12. And so now we got all this area right here. We'll have to fix the mouse shape. But we got all this area right here that we can do an anticipation. That's another rule of animation, is anticipating the main move. So you want to do an action before you actually do the full action. All right. So it's an anticipation. So we can copy this frame right here. Copy, and then we can edit. We can paste it right there, and those keyframes will show up right there. And so maybe right here we want him to kind of go out this way first, right? And then he comes back in, so he's like, doesn't move. We'll have to get it quicker than that. And what we'll actually do is we'll actually copy that last frame right here. I have done some frame by frame in Moho, Russ. I don't find the drawing tools are that great for that, for me at least. I've seen some people do some pretty neat stuff with it, but for me, I hadn't figured them out yet. I did some smoke trails and mostly effect stuff with it. I'll try to work on that, and maybe I can make that a stream, because there's really not a lot of stuff on effects out there in Moho, so that might be a missing element. So if you copy the frame and you add it, it gives a little bit of hesitation on the end, and then quickly into our motion there. And that still seems a little rough. So I think here I would squash him a little bit to bring him up, and then back. I don't like that. But anyway, if you want to spend the time to get it, you can do it. Make it happen. All right. Anybody else? Any more questions? I think that'll be good for tonight. I'll post it up in the up on my channel so you guys can watch it. So if you guys got any more questions, any thoughts, Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging with me, hanging out. Hopefully, you learned some tips and tricks. If you have any questions about something that we did, you could just post it under the video once it's up. Like I said, just thanks for hanging out with me. Hopefully, I can make more of these streams. I just make them when time's available for me to do it. And hopefully, you guys get a lot out of it. So, thanks for joining me. All right. Talk to you soon, hopefully. Take care, everybody. Bye.